Hey, what's up, guys? Black Dissident. And let's go straight to it. I want to have a little bit of a discussion and kind of put some information out there. I know most people probably know this, but there's still a lot of people that don't. And I've I've had some questions about it. So this is the way I do things when we start looking at electronic sighting systems, red dots, and things of that nature. um, shit with illuminated reticles or whatever, typically like a red dot or holographic sight, etc. Um, if it's on my go-to firearm, like a rifle or something like that, and it does not have a shake awake feature, the cool thing is a lot of these modern optics have the shake awake feature built into them. Like particularly, Holosun stuff, and even the Sig Romeo 5, stuff like that, they have shake awake. So that way, that helps preserve your battery life, and you can turn your optic on, set it to whatever setting is optimal to your environment or your, ambient lighting conditions. If you decide that you're gonna put that firearm away, whether it be in a safe or whatever, if you just set it down on the kitchen counter after a certain amount of time, depending on the manufacturer, say 15 minutes, the reticle will shut off. And as soon as it senses motion, it'll turn back on. There's different names for these systems depending on who the manufacturer is, but the general term is shake awake. When the optic senses motion, it turns back on. Great feature. I love it. It's like living in the future. The shit's dope. If your optic doesn't have that feature, I would recommend, if there is a function, and this was kind of prompted by the Bushnell TRS 26 discussion on the video that I made a while back, because the one that I have, the particular model that I have, has a setting where it times out after, I don't know, I'm not a technical specs guy, you guys know that, but after a certain amount of time it just turns off, just to preserve battery life, but it will not shake awake. And then you can change the setting to where it'll just stay on constantly and it doesn't turn off. So there may be some concerns with battery life on that. These things typically don't drain a lot of battery or whatever, so not really a big deal. But in that case, if it doesn't have shake awake and it is your go-to firearm, rifle, say AR-15 or whatever, I would recommend keeping that optic on. I wouldn't have it necessarily blazing bright, on the highest brightness setting, but get it to a setting where you can see it. And if you have like a white light or something on the rifle, that if you activate that light, you can still see the reticle. It doesn't wash it out, because that could be something that could cause an issue for you, especially in a dicey situation. So verify that. It's easily verifiable. Go into a semi-dark room, activate the white light, and if you can still see the reticle, then you're good. Do that and leave it on that setting. And then, if you're gonna have to store it or whatever, I just leave it on. That way, if you have to run to the safe or whatever your storage location is, and grab that rifle for quick access or immediate access, then the reticle's on. You're not goofing and dicking around with buttons and shit. You don't want to be doing that. You're gonna have enough shit on your mind and heart rate through the ceiling if you need that rifle or that firearm in that instance, to where you don't want to be goofing with buttons and shit and messing around and checking, and we ain't got time for that shit. So I would recommend have it set at a decent or reasonable brightness setting and just leave it on. And if you're concerned about battery life, then what most people do, or what I've heard, is they will just change the battery out or do a battery swap like on their birthday every year. So once a year you changing the battery to a fresh one. And definitely have those batteries on hand. Open your optics, figure out what batteries you need for all of them, and go ahead and cover those bases and have some extra packs of batteries on hand for all of those devices. Because, with supply chain issues, and even, any kind of just weird event goes on, you may have trouble sourcing those items. So it's a great idea to have those on hand. As far as just general preparedness, batteries are mission critical. You got to have them. So that's my recommendation for that. It's not like I'm reinventing the wheel or anything. I didn't come up with this shit, but I'm just telling you guys that that's sound advice. That's what makes sense and that's what works. And that's what I do is, I would leave it on. All of my shit that I need to go to, front line or first line stuff that I would grab as far as firearms, they have shake awake. So it's not really a concern for me. But if it is a concern for you and you have an optic that doesn't, I would just leave it on. That's kind of where I'm at with that. And that's where most people that have been doing this for a while and have picked up on this information, that's kind of what we do. That's common knowledge, if you will. Also, too, another thing that I would recommend is don't do scope caps and shit like that on your go-to rifles on their optics. I get it. Maybe they'll get a little dusty or something like that. When you go to the safe to do something, take a lens cloth to them, wipe them out, get the dust out of there and then put them back in storage. Because you don't want to be fumbling with no damn lens caps when it's time. When the time is upon you, you don't want to be dealing with all that. So spare yourself, do yourself a favor, and have your shit squared away. It's just a basic level of keeping your shit ready to go. Grab and go, kind of like my previous videos, I've been talking about grab and go, different items or pouches or whatever, shit staged and set up, ready to grab and ready to, skirt out the side door, as they say. That's big. You got to have that. So yeah, definitely ditch the scope caps and shit like that. We don't have time for that. Night vision and stuff like that is a little bit different, but as far as just rifle optics or handgun optics or anything like that, keep them powered up if they don't have shake awake, and no scope caps. We can't do that. And something that prompted that, obviously I got some questions on that, but outside of that, I consume different content. I watch different videos and stuff like that. I watch funny shit. I watch stupid shit. I watch, things to gain knowledge, stuff like that, and educational things, if you will. And I watch, I like to watch shootouts and stuff like that. Most of them that are recorded are typically with law enforcement and stuff like that. The majority of them, I would say. And I've seen some law enforcement officers got into a contact, and they had to do some shooting. It was a shootout, gunfight, whatever you want to call it. And I remember one of the guys went to the back of the patrol vehicle, or maybe he got it from the cab, I don't remember. But either way, he retrieved a rifle, AR-15 pattern rifle, and he had scope caps and shit on it. I saw him messing with the buttons on it to turn the optic on, and I was just like, ugh. It wasn't of any major detriment to him in that moment, in that particular scenario, but I was just like, dude, your shit's not ready. And I, not to be a armchair quarterback or nothing, but these things are preventable with just a little bit of education and a little bit of forethought. So that's what I wanted to bring to y'all. Like, comment, all that good stuff, and I will continue to roll out the content as I can. You know how I do. I'm out.